One of the side effects of politicians hammering this idea that you can't trust the media.
Fox News and their commentators spreading the big lie.
If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth.
If you were young, would you want to go into journalism?
No way.
No way.
Or you'd want to go into journalism reporting just what you believe.
As an activist. So that's sort of what you're getting now. You're getting young people who come in with an agenda, and that's not what we do.
This week on Cleared for Takeoff, we have Jason DeRusha joining us. Jason is a media veteran. He's been in journalism for more than 20 years.
When I started out, your goal was to filter out your own belief and do a fair job representing both sides of a story. And today, the idea is to get to some sort of objective truth. There's so much opinion out there now. Separating opinion media from fact-based reporting media has become harder to do. I think the digital era has become a mirror where we see ourselves. We see what we want. The algorithm is in charge. We self-select individual things that align with our interests instead of being open to hey, let's see what's going on in our community, in our state, in the world. Don't you think it's a point of strength for you as a leader when you have a belief and someone on your team challenges it and you are open to that challenge and realize that perhaps you were wrong? You've grown.
When you talk about big media versus local media, there's a huge difference. What is that difference?
So I think
Jason DeRusha, it's great to have you.
so good to be here.
You've been in the media for a long time. You spent over 2 decades as a journalist. Does big media give us stories to inform us, or are they just trying to drive viewership?
Yes. It's both. It's both. It always has been both. The goal of telling a great story that informs doesn't do you a lot of good if people aren't watching it or reading it. So you're always trying to attract audience. What's changed is the primary goal used to be, if I tell a good story, people will want to watch it. If I inform, if I reveal, if I share something new, people will want to watch. Today, the algorithm is in charge. We self-select individual things that align with our interests instead of being open to hey, let's see what's going on in our community, in our state, in the world. And so it is different. And so the media, I think today, big media especially, is really focused on stories that will drive engagement, that will pop up in social media, that will live in a way that you can measure and say, look how many people consume this.
Now, when you talk about big media versus local media, there's a huge difference. What is that difference?
Yeah. So I think big media, and by big media, I mean the networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, the big legacy newspapers, your New York Times, even here in Minnesota, the Star Tribune, I think, is the largest newsroom in the Midwest. So pretty big. The local media mostly is telling you what's going on in your community. I think the local news is much less ideologically driven than big media.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest difference. Local media lives in your community. They care about your community. I do think some of the issues that face both big media and local media are the same. And one of the biggest issues is sort of a group mentality where the type of people who select into these jobs, which let's be real, they're lower paying jobs than most professional jobs. You come out of a 4-year college today, you're probably going to make more than the kid who's reporting on the local news or the photographer, the assignment editor. So you end up with either rich kids or people who are really motivated to, well, maybe they're true believers or they're activists in some way. And so it's sort of a self-selecting group. Doesn't mean everyone in the media is liberal. Go talk to some news anchors who are making a lot of money. They're usually concerned about different things than the 24-year-old who is just starting out. So I do think there is some ideological variety in local news, but, I don't think it's what's different is that when I started out, your goal was to filter out your own belief and do a fair job of representing both sides of a story. And today that idea is less in vogue. The idea is more to like get to some sort of objective truth. And like, the old way was easier as a journalist. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, these guys think this, these guys think that. You, as the audience, can figure out what you think is right. And now I think there's more pressure on the media, some from within, but some from outside, to like pronounce somebody's a liar or somebody's a fraud or somebody's telling the truth.
There's like always a mission with that message.
Yeah, I always wanted to lay out the facts and let the people decide. And that doesn't mean that you need to dishonestly present like a bogus viewpoint just to have the other side. But, I think a return to that would be better.
Hmm. How do you think that the change that's happened in the way media is presented
Mhm.
has affected our understanding of big issues?
It's hard. That is a really fascinating question. And it's sort of hard to answer because so there's such smaller audience consuming this stuff. So we have infinite options now. You can watch or read things that align with your ideology. You can watch or read nothing. I don't know. Like I live in the suburbs. A lot of parents are busy taking kids all around. You're going to bed at 9:30. You're not watching the news and you're not reading the newspaper. The difference today is that people who are not consuming media think they are consuming media because they see headlines in their Facebook feed or in their X or in their wherever they're getting information. And they just take that as, oh, now I'm consuming. I know what's going on. And it used to be that you didn't have as many options. And I think people were in this state, in Minnesota, we always have very high voter turnout. And we've always had very high like ratings and readership of local news because people care about their community. That's starting to fade. Starting to fade.
You mentioned something I thought was really interesting, which is you said the algorithm is now in charge with all of the other options like you mentioned.
Yeah.
How does that change the society?
We're so tribal. We're so tribal. And I think we always have been, but we were exposed to different viewpoints and different ideas in a way that today we're not. You can give me a street address and I can probably tell you who they voted for. I mean, it is just, we've set up in neighborhoods where we're surrounded by like-minded people. We've set up our algorithms so we only see what we want to see. So the promise of the digital era exposing us to a whole world, I think the digital era has become a mirror where we see ourselves, we see what we want. Instead of a lens on the wider world, we have partially been manipulated through, I don't blame Meta or X or any of the companies for being companies. They're companies. Your job is to figure out how to keep people more engaged, keep people on the sites. But I do think from a civic standpoint, we are, in one area, we are smarter in a deeper way. We know more about whatever subject we care to know about than we ever knew before. But we used to have more broad knowledge, and I think that's been shrunk.
So when you say we're basically seeing a mirror of ourselves, you're saying we consume the things that edify our current ideas and are making us less open to possibilities that may be different than what we believe right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you think it's a point of strength for you as a leader when you have a belief and someone on your team challenges it and you are open to that challenge and realize that perhaps you were wrong? You've grown.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone has expanded my thinking on something, and I actually really appreciate them for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like my social media feeds, you're right. It's all the same stuff giving me what makes me think I'm right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And some of that is a failure of the media for not getting how to work in a social media world earlier, right? Could things have been different if media jumped in earlier? Maybe. Or maybe this is just the reality. If you look around the rest of the world, you have right-wing media, left-wing media. This has always been the case in Europe, for example. And so maybe we're just, we had a good run.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Maybe we had a good run.
yeah, I mean, talking about just news in general.
Yeah.
You know, you've worked in it a long time. How did news, how did local news, how did national news take to these platforms that were starting to kind of gain the attention rather than the 6 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news? Like, did the news stations, were they fighting it? Were they all for it? Like, what did you see happen?
You had two paths. So first came the digital internet era, where many news stations, including like I worked at WCCO in Minneapolis, they were
CBS affiliate.
CBS affiliate, owned by CBS when I worked there. But they were one of the first to launch a website, channel4000.com is what it was called at the time. Channel 4, Channel 4000.
They're like, just add another zero.
Boom, we're the internet, 4,000. That was perhaps an enormous number when they launched the website. I don't know. Today you'd be Channel 4 gazillion, perhaps. But they sort of gave it away, right? You trained people that you could go online and get the stuff for free. This has become a business model problem for local media, right? Which is advertisers basically supported the ability for all of us to get information for free. So that side progressed pretty well. Local media was slow, but they were in. Social and digital, I remember being made fun of at work. I'd be sitting in a...
Like by your coworkers?
Yeah, and bosses. So I had a blog on WCCO's website, and you'd be sitting in a story meeting and you'd be talking about something, and someone would turn to me and like, "You're gonna put that on your blog?" I'm like, I am not getting paid to do this extra work. I'm like, I'm trying to do this stuff.
I'm trying to better humanity
And
here.
you guys are just ripping on me. And I get it because it was new and people didn't understand. And I would say at that time, which is like the late 2000s, I was speaking on all these panels, like ad people, marketing people. They all wanted to know, like, oh, how are you doing this? How are you navigating, like, without having an editor? You're just sharing your thoughts. And local news, one thing I wish people knew is like everything that goes on the air goes through a couple of people.
Right.
It's different from my work in social as an influencer, unless like someone's paying me and then they get to approve it or whatever. But most of the stuff I do, I just do. And it's nice to have an editor.
Yeah.
It's nice to have someone look at your work and say, like, are you sure? Are you sure that's right? How do you know that?
How often when you would do that, you'd pass it off to other people, would they give you either feedback or criticism that actually changed your view and helped you tell a better story?
In my earliest years at Channel 4, I had the best producers and editors. Unbelievable. Where every time they looked at my work, they made it better. Every time. Whether it was clarity of the way I was telling a story, whether it was the focus of the story, whether my sourcing wasn't good enough. It was an amazing lesson I had as a young journalist to come in and have someone just look at your work skeptically. Be like, are you sure, kid?
Yeah.
It was amazing. I think that surprises people. Like, I have one editor who my rule was if I wrote something, he looked at it and he's like, I don't understand this and this. And I would go back and rewrite. And then he would have 3 more questions. I would scrap my script and start over. Because I'm like, if John Denzer doesn't get this after 2 shots, I'm like, no way someone sitting at home on their couch is going to understand what I'm talking about. So,
And you've been entrenched in it enough that you feel like you know.
The job of a local news reporter is you are essentially creating a book report from a classroom perspective every day. So you go out and gather this much information and you have to distill it into 90 seconds. And so you think you know what you're saying, but then if you just watch that 90 seconds, maybe you don't.
That's interesting. And you started as an intern and now you're an Emmy Award winning journalist. What I want to understand from you is what are the moments that shaped
Hmm.
the journalist you are today?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be in front of a microphone. I didn't know exactly if I wanted to be a journalist, but I knew that I wanted to talk to people and make things that were sort of complicated easy to understand. And um, when I was in college, I had an internship and a mentor, second semester of freshman year. And he taught me how to be my own individual person with my own voice and how to be like, do your job as a journalist. So these things often come into conflict. And I think you see it today
Yeah.
where in the big network news, the motivation is more. Now, most people care about getting the story right, but also as you grow your career, part of the way you do that is you increase your personal brand, your personal profile.
Yeah.
And so from an early age, I was taught like, if a third of the people love you and a third of the people hate you, that's like Super Bowl ratings. You're doing fine. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, be yourself. So my goal when I was telling a story was always in the first sentence that you would know that's Jason DeRusha. Whether it was word choice, whether it was the style I was telling the story, trying to use words that weren't typical TV news words, that was always my approach. But I interned at a local station in Milwaukee. I interned with Peter Jennings in New York City at ABC News.
Wow.
So I was there the summer we were investigating the Oklahoma City bombing. So I was part of the investigative unit at ABC. So we were investigating that, and we were investigating Whitewater, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton in Whitewater at the time. And this was 95. So that was huge. And then it was just like Davenport, Iowa, first job there as a reporter and then a weekend anchor, where I learned a great storytelling trick from a photographer who said, Bob Palmer, we had a long drive out to a gas explosion, a house that was exploded. And Bob was like, try to explain your story in 3 words. And if you start with just 3 words, and it causes you to focus in on the way you're going to tell your story. And that was like, that stuck with me all these years later.
Well, that's like pre-social media hook creation.
Yes, everyone's obsessed with the hook. I've been doing the hook. Every local news person has been doing the hook since they wrote a tease for their story, right? And the next phase for me in development was doing a segment called Good Question at WCCO TV, where every night Channel 4 said, we're going to give 2 minutes to the exploration of a question. And some days it might be ripped from the headlines. Some days it might be, how does dry cleaning work? Or where does the water go when you flush the toilet? So sometimes curiosity, sometimes I did a story once about what was on top of the tallest building in Minnesota, the IDS. And what was amazing is like for a middle-class kid from suburban Chicago to be standing on top of the tallest building in Minnesota, that just your job allowed someone to say like, sure, come on up, I'll show you around. You're like, this is amazing. It was those.
What's
kind
the
of
view
things are
like
amazing.
up there?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So what is on the top of that building?
A lot of like communication equipment, right? So a lot of some well, today it's probably totally different. It was maybe 15 years ago that I was up there, but it was cell phone equipment, microphone relay or microwave relays,
Yeah.
different stuff like that. Yeah.
Gosh, that's so
It's
crazy.
cool.
So
And then of course, like the guts of the building, right? You don't think about like all the air exchangers and
yeah,
all of the stuff that you have.
stuff that keeps the air comfortable.
Right, right.
That's crazy. So being a journalist gave you access to a lot of things maybe normal people didn't get to see.
Most fun part about the job.
How did that change the way you see the world?
So mostly it's from the people that you meet. And what you find is that most people are really excited about something. And I love tapping into what drives people and what excites people. And when you give people the opportunity to tell their story, to share what they love, to me, I'm always going to be jazzed up about that.
Yeah.
It's always cool. Even if you look at it and you're like, that is weird, or that, it's even better if that's weird. But I do find passion and excitement like very stimulating for me. I like it.
So you get excited when someone is sharing their passion with you.
Yeah. And most people are good also. I think we get away from that in the social media era. But one thing that local news taught me is that when there's a crisis or a challenge, like all of the divisions, whether it's different races, different income level, different politics, it all melts away. When you get a flood or a tornado or a fire, people come together. And I do think that's fascinating, right? Like why is it that we're so open to helping our neighbor in the crisis, but day to day we seem to thrive on like dividing ourselves from other people? I don't fully understand that.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah. It is satisfying to like be smarter than other people, right?
Sure.
I like to be the smartest guy in the room. Don't you like to be the smartest guy in the room?
From time to time, it
Yeah,
feels
of
pretty
course.
good.
Of course. And there are times that legitimately you are. But I think the chasing of being right. I have a good friend who is a social psychologist. He's also a basketball coach. And he's an expert in motivation. All of his research was on motivation. And he always says, Jason, we've got a desire to be right and a desire to be liked. And those things are often in conflict. And we all think about that, right? Like if I say something in your head, you want to correct me.
Yeah.
Got to run the calculus. Do I want to be right here or do I want to be liked?
Why do you think we want to be right so badly?
Different reason for different people, but it's fun to be right. You feel a little superiority. You get like a little dose of dopamine, like, haha.
I know this and you don't.
Right. Like I had some guy on social media last night reply to a message he sent me 3 months ago. So he could say, I was right.
He was right.
Yeah, he was right.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like you're pretty screwed up.
Yeah.
Like that you,
Like
that you remember that you went back and found that you're like, ha ha ha.
why do you think it's just some
Interesting.
sort of satisfaction people have for
Yeah.
wanting to prove?
It's a combo platter, right? Like you are the ultimate is when you are right and someone else is wrong. And then you get like, that's like a double power up.
But when they're wrong, not a lot of people are like,
Nobody's ever wrong.
I'm wrong. Okay, so you've interviewed thousands of people. You've seen so many things. When you boil all of this division we see down, it sounds like there's a big difference between the way that local news does things and the way that big media does things, right? There's a big difference in their strategy and their tactic. How is that? What is that doing for humanity? Like,
Yeah.
what is that doing to us?
I do think humanity would be better off if we consumed more local news and less national news. Because in our communities, wherever you live, all of the goals, I think, are the same. We want to afford our lives. We want our kids to get smarter and our schools to be good. We want to feel safe and we want to be healthier, right? Like those are the fundamental things that I think everybody agrees on. There's no disagreement on this. Local news covers those kinds of things. And yes, like, can you get fired up about, well, they're biased in this way? Sure. But if you read the paper most days, 80% of the stuff has nothing to do with politics. And local TV, same thing. Now, I will say, I do think local news has some major challenges because it used to make a lot of money. Very profitable. I mean, in most cities, you have 4 stations doing essentially the same thing, right? Like here in Minnesota, would you say the major TV stations are significantly different? Different people, different talent, different presentation style, pretty much covering the same crap.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is everybody's still making plenty of money, but they're just making less money than they made before. And so staffing is less. So the fact that like back in the day, I was doing a 2-minute story every night that wasn't necessarily in the first segment. So like the news of the day is sort of crazy. You're like, wow, that's a dedication of one person to do a story where you could just pull something off the satellite feed and play that there. Today, I think people are getting less time to do their work. They're being asked to do more work. So you end up doing easy stuff. You do the murders, the fires, the car crashes, the conflict du jour that has no bigger meaning to people's lives. So I do think there's opportunity there for media to be better. Like it's not all that the people are just being manipulated or we're lazy or we like our, no, like some of it is media on a local sense has lost touch with what really matters to people's lives. It's always been a conflict. News is about news, but regular people are not on the same timeline as to what a local news station is. So you see this in Minnesota with fraud, right? All of a sudden, the last couple weeks, everyone's been awoken to fraud. And many of the media members are like, we've been talking about this for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it on my radio show for years.
Yeah.
But it's new to people. So you need to not be dismissive as a media member, like, where have you been? I've been covering this. No, like, okay, we're glad you're plugged in.
Welcome.
Welcome in. Let me show you some of what we've uncovered, but let's, it is an interesting question. How do you deal with the way people receive information today? It's different.
And it's changed. I mean, rewinding back to what you were saying earlier, how you had a blog and you were kind of the outlier.
Yeah.
And you knew something early on that led you to invest in this kind of new way of reporting and news. And it ultimately led to a pretty interesting turn in your career.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm wondering, how did you know early on to have a webcam at your desk and do these things? Like what made you say, I'm going to take that risk, even if my coworkers are giving me a hard time?
Yeah.
Right. How did you justify that?
Honestly, my initial optimism has been proven naive and wrong. I was wrong. My initial idea was the more people I can get involved, the more likely the truth is going to rise to the top. Sort of the Wikipedia theory. If you have everybody editing, you're going to end up with the power of the group and you're going to get better information. And early on, I found on social media, I was able to do, so in local news, you do man on the street interviews. We used to do a ton of these where
they're quite entertaining.
They are entertaining.
They're
yes.
quite entertaining.
But when you do it from a news perspective, you would have to explain the story to the person you stopped and then say, what do you think about this? Social media allows you to put it out there and you would get people who like truly were impacted by the story or truly knew what you were talking about. And you would get like a richer quality of contribution. So that was part of it. The other part is like, I knew that the delivery mechanism is going to keep changing, but storytelling and fact finding never changes. It's always needed. And so I worked in a linear sort of, you watch the news and this story comes and this story comes and this story comes. And I knew, I'm like, this isn't going to be around forever. Like you're on digital, you're looking at social media. I also enjoyed all of those things. So I was getting joy out of it and I wanted to be in the mix. So that was sort of what drove me. Where I think I was wrong is I did not anticipate how commercial interest, technological interest, and bad actors would be able to manipulate the system.
So when you say commercial interests, I mean, when you look at the ads that are on TV,
yeah,
those are commercial interests.
Right.
Do you think that they influence the type of reporting that's being done on the big media side?
No,
No.
I don't think in the specific. I think the goal of getting eyeballs absolutely influences things, but I think the corporate sort of advertiser involvement, there's a pretty strong wall that exists between like the sales operation and the journalism operation. That wall has cracked over the years, but you know, in my career, I've never been told like, "Oh, you shouldn't cover this because this car dealer is advertising,"
Mm.
or "Make sure you reach out to this guy because he advertises." It's never happened. So,
I just think about the ads you see and you're like, well, if I was selling that space on the news,
yeah,
I would not let my reporters do a hit piece on that industry,
right,
right? Like
right.
if you take pharma,
Sure.
how many pharma ads there are, I don't know if other countries allow it, but we sure have plenty of them.
Right.
And you go, well, would the media
Hmm.
report negatively on the very people that are paying their paychecks?
Yeah. So I would say that generally the number one motivator is eyeballs.
Hmm.
So
Over money.
over money for a journalist. Now, for the bosses up the chain, yeah, if you're the sales manager or if you're the head of the station, you are freaking out.
You're like, no.
Right. But for the most part, your number one motivation is eyeballs. So if you think you got a good story, now, are they going to kill it on a local level? I just don't see that happening that often.
Does that happen?
You would
though?
hear it
Like,
more.
does the
People
media
would quit
kill?
and you would hear it.
I mean, the media kills stories.
Sure.
They're like, this is not good for our interests.
Yeah.
How does that happen? I was always curious.
Mhm.
What is that dialogue like? Like, you can't do that piece, throw it in the trash.
Right. So on a local level, it happens in a more subtle way. So what happens is it's a very interesting question because the way that bias shows up most in the media is in the type of stories that get selected to cover. So it's not as often that you cover something and someone is like, hell no, we're killing that story. It's that it never comes up. It's never brought up. So I do think
Why is that?
some of it is that too many people come from the same background and have the same perspective. You know, I think newsrooms are stronger if you have people who grew up on a farm and you have people who grew up in the city and you have people who went to fancy universities and people who maybe went to 2-year college. And if you have more diversity of thought, I think there's been great emphasis on diversity of color, and not enough emphasis on diversity of thought.
So do you think that we've moved away from having diversity of thought in the individual media outlets, and it's become way more polarizing where you have all the same kinds of thinkers at this place? Like Fox is known to be more conservative, CNN or MSNBC's known to be more on the liberal side.
Yeah.
Do you think that they've become more like vacuum chambers of those thoughts of the people that are working there?
I think there's so much opinion out there now that separating opinion media from fact-based reporting media has become harder to do.
Yeah.
So like, is there a lot of fact-based non-opinion reporting out there? Less and less. It's expensive. You have to send people to do stuff. You have to give people time to do stuff. I do think that one of the side effects of politicians really hammering this idea that you can't trust the media. If you were young, would you want to go into journalism?
No way.
No way.
Because the scrutiny would be outrageous. Or you'd want to go into journalism just reporting just what you believe.
As an activist,
Yeah.
right? And so that's
As an active, that's perfect. As an activist.
so that's sort of what you're getting now.
Yeah.
And I know, like, when I talk to people in this community who hire, they say it's a challenge where you're getting young people who come in with an agenda, and that's not what we do or what they want to do. And so it is a challenge. Like, how do you recruit people if we as a society think this is important?
Yeah. How do you keep, like, obviously those people who are activists are going to grow up and be in leadership roles. Do you think it's going to evolve into just every outlet is so polarized against everybody else? Like, do you think it's evolving into that?
I have wondered why you don't see a local news station take a page out of the cable news approach. So why is there no like, oh, this is the sort of Fox News local? Because even the Fox owned station here, excellent. They do excellent work. I think every TV station in the Twin Cities does excellent work.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you still have investigative journalism going on at those organizations. Like, you have good stuff coming out. Like, there's some schlock, but there's good stuff too. You read the paper, there's the comics in there. Like, we don't need to freak out that everything needs to be like, you need some fun, you need some sugar.
You need to feel like you're right once in a while.
Yes, right. So you can have all of that, but there's still a lot of really good stuff. I do think it's interesting. And some of it is maybe the financial side of it is still good enough that you don't need to do a massive change. It would be quite something, right? Like if you had all of a sudden, we're going to be the right-wing TV station.
That would be really weird.
Yeah, it'd be weird. I don't know. Would it work? Maybe.
It's interesting. I don't remember being told what to think previous to like the last, say, I don't know, 15 years, where now the cable news is like whichever station you pick is telling you what to think.
Right.
It's no longer this broad, like, hey, make up your own mind.
Right.
It's think like this. This is what is happening, and here's how we see it. You should too.
It's sort of entertainment.
Have you watched it change?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the people have followed, like, if you ask conservatives in America, they will say the media is so biased to the left. And also, the number one cable information channel is Fox News. So how does that make sense? How biased is it? Like, the number one organization is the conservative leaning organization.
Yeah.
So I do think that I think that's interesting. I also wonder, as someone who hosts a radio show where I share opinions, but my opinions are not like, oh, Jason's a Democrat or Jason's a Republican. I just try to look at things and be common sense. I'm more centrist, I would say. Which no one likes a centrist. It makes the Republicans mad.
They're like, come on, Jason, take our side.
The lefties think I'm a Trumper and the Trumpers think I'm a socialist. I'm like, I don't, which is amazing. You're like, I mean, to all these questions you're asking, the fundamental question for me is the audience really interested in this at all? Is it more satisfying for people if you're on the left to say, oh, DeRusha, that guy, such a corporate toady right-wing MAGA guy, or, and then if you're on the right, everybody thinks I'm a raging lefty. I'm like, this is crazy. So is there value in trying to just take things as they come and respond? I don't know. Our radio station is one of the few in the country that is not like an openly right-wing or left-wing station.
Interesting.
People would say like, oh, well, all your people are, well, if you listen up and down the day, which I do, people are all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm sometimes all over the place in the 3 hours I host. Like at the beginning, I'm here, at the end, different issues, but I'm willing to call out anybody and take any side.
I love that about you, because you truly want to let people make their own decisions. Yeah. And you can feel that.
Listen to people too. Like, I love when people disagree with my view. I love when they explain why.
It's so interesting to me that when people watch the news, there's some sort of weird like voodoo that goes on where they think that, they're investing in their education and this is very serious business. But oftentimes the news is just as much entertainment. It's almost like the illusion of self-betterment, but it's just entertainment. My folks, they sit around and watch the news all day. Yeah. And I'm like, it's no different than watching Netflix in a way, because you're entertaining yourself with things that you seem to agree with.
That's a very wise insight. And it is something that I think when you work in the news, you think that your competition is other TV station, other news organizations.
Like Ron Burgundy.
Right. You're going to meet in the alley and let's go. But your real competition today is entertainment. It's streaming video, it's Netflix. It's the reason that late news, 10 o'clock in the central time zones, 11 o'clock out west, that has become a secondary program. And the 6 o'clock news here in the central time zone is the biggest newscast because people are streaming video. They're not on a show starts at 7, 8, 9, 10 schedule anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's changed. Yeah. News is entertainment. Part of the reason a lot of the people who are journalists are former theater kids.
Really?
Is that it is entertainment and it's performance. But just like a great theatrical production can get you to think, I believe that a great performance of nonfiction, real news is also, it can feed your soul and it can also be entertaining.
Yeah. So that I've been wondering this. How do you balance, especially on radio, talk radio?
Yeah.
How do you balance being entertaining with being truly enriching and informative? Like that's got to be a tightrope to walk.
It's been a fascinating challenge for me because the idea is to be smart, to be engaging, and to connect. And sometimes what I've learned is I like nuance, and nuance is not always great if you're sitting in the car listening for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I've decided is we sort of pace the show where maybe I'll throw out some catnip and then maybe I'll do something more nuanced. So I like the rhythm of it, and then maybe I'll do something silly and funny. Because I do think the ultimate job for me, I'm not a journalist anymore. I'm a talk radio host.
What's the difference?
So I have opinions. I think as a journalist, I still approach my opinions like a journalist where I want to have the facts. When I'm doing interviews, I'm going to hold everyone that I interview to account.
Yeah.
I'm not just picking one.
They can't
side.
just say whatever and get away with it without.
Right. I do my best. It's hard and live as it's going on, right? You're trying to fact check while you're listening and all of that. But my job today is to entertain people. And I believe the vehicle to entertain people is through, nuance and smart conversations about what's going on. But ultimately, you listen to talk radio to be, and I argue with our afternoon host. I told him that my number one job is to be entertaining. And he disagrees.
Really?
And I said, you just don't want to admit it. You just don't want to admit it because he thinks his job is to be thought-provoking and be informative, which, yes, like those are the tactics. But the goal is, and in business, we always do this, right? Like, what's the strategy? What's the tactics? How are we going to? And there's a difference between the tactic and the strategy. And the strategy is to be entertaining.
So who gets better reviews?
I mean, he's better at
ratings.
it. He's better at it than I am. He's been doing it a lot longer. He is, but he is incredibly entertaining. So he's kidding himself if he thinks his main job is not entertainment.
Yeah, it's engagement, right? Getting people to engage.
Yep.
But it also causes thought-provoking conversation for people and hopefully maybe some change, right? Positive change.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my number one goal is to get people to open their minds and think about things differently. And whether that means I'm going to come at a story of the day from a perspective that maybe they haven't heard all day or they haven't thought about, that's a great day for me. If I can address something from just a slightly different perspective.
That's when people start calling in, right?
Yes, then you get it going. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not doing it to be trolling or to be like, that's engagement bait. You're like, well, sort of, I guess. Like, yes, I do want people to engage. I'm not saying things I don't believe just to try to gin up a bunch of calls. There are days I think that'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
And frankly, it would be easier if I did a show from one ideological perspective or the other. You'd know what to do every day.
Yeah.
There's a reason top 40 radio is popular, that you keep playing the hits over and over. In talk radio, that's popular too. Play the hits. If people hate Donald Trump, go hard on that. If people love Donald Trump, go hard on that.
So what made you not want to pick a side?
It's just not me. It's just not me. I like to call out when I think some issue is right, or someone's doing something right, or someone's doing something wrong. But to me, the idea of picking a team, I don't know. When you look at politics today, do you line up on one side or the other?
No.
I don't.
Maybe it's the journalist in you,
Yeah.
the one that wants to understand it all and make your own decisions.
It's hard for me to get away from that.
Yeah.
And I've been in radio now for 3.5 years. It's taken a while for me to stop saying we when I'm talking about news organizations, and also to be a little more free to call out my friends, right? Like, I worked in this business for a long time, and, there was a story in the Star Tribune a month ago that I thought was crazy and goofy and ridiculous. And then the reporter sends me like a little snarky little email. I'm like, well, my loyalty is to the audience, not to anybody I know or a friend or whatever. Like, I always want to be fair to everyone, not just to people I know or people I'm connected to. But
That's amazing. It's interesting to hear you talk about how you pick. You're like, I'm not going to pick a side because that would be easy.
right.
When, from my perspective, I'm like, that would be hard.
Yeah.
It
would be easy from a standpoint in that I didn't have to rethink everything every day.
Yeah.
So if you know what your talking points are and you know what your approach is, you just play the hits.
That's
Easy.
your nature, though.
Yeah, it would be very difficult for me.
How did that? I want to shift gears and ask how that's related to your departure from being on the top. I mean, after 19 years, I'm understanding correctly, you were a news anchor on the big station.
Yeah.
And while on top, you made a decision to make a huge career change.
Yeah.
Why did you do it?
I was worried that I was treading water. So this happened after, really in Minnesota, the most intense period of news coverage, and probably in most cities post-COVID, where going to work, you had, well, for, I don't know, 9 months or so, I was in the studio doing the morning news with Ron, our floor director. And for most of the time, it was just me and Ron. Weather guy was doing the weather from his bed. My co-anchor was sent home to be like this survivor if COVID went through the newsroom. So I was there alone for a long time. And then we had the George Floyd riots and protests. And so it was intense, right? It was intense. So when I left a couple of years after that, I think people thought like, oh, it just must have been too much. And it wasn't too much. It wasn't that at all. I loved my job, loved it. And I was good at it, but I wasn't growing. I wasn't continuing. I was like a little bit. My main goal was to like motivate my team. And I was learning more about, obviously you learn more every day when you keep showing up. But I was worried that I was being a little lazy, that I could just show up and do it at a high level and I didn't need to challenge myself. And I thought, I'm almost 50. I probably have 10 to 15 more years of doing this. I'm like, I don't want to keep coming to the same door every day. I don't want to keep parking in the same parking spot, making the same walk, making the same drive. And I started exploring like what else is out there.
So what was the...
I was scared though.
I was going to say, what was that? Because obviously balancing being scared of making a big change and also stepping away while you're kind of on the top of your game. Where was the moment that you were like, okay, like you had to have had some sort of moment where you made that decision?
My wife and I spent a lot of time talking about it. Like, I think underrated in anybody's arc is having a strong support network. And my wife we started dating in college, and she has been there since we were driving around Davenport, Iowa, and you'd see some fire trucks going down the road, and I be a date night. I'd be like, we should probably check that out.
It's just in your nature.
We should probably check that out. She's like, ugh. But so she's been there through all of this, and she was concerned that I was giving up the impact that I had on the community. And one of the things that motivates me is knowing that my work does have impact when I cover a story or even tell you about a restaurant that's open and in the feature side of things. That is a force for good. I want to be a force for good. I want people to laugh more because of me. I want people to talk to each other more because of me. I want people to think more. And I want to be a part of it. And she was worried. She's like, are you giving that up? You anchor the morning news. Is this a step down? And there was a point for me where I said, well, first of all, it felt relatively low risk. I was young enough that if it flopped or if I really missed it, somebody would hire me. A little bit of overconfidence is sometimes a good thing.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be unemployed. I knew like something will work out. But I also thought that I would look back and regret it if I didn't take a leap. The easy thing to do would have been keep doing what I was doing. But in many ways, like that would be a less satisfying thing for me. I don't want the easy thing. I want the hard thing. I want to work harder. I want to think more. I want to fail at something.
Yeah.
In the first like 6 months of doing radio, I was not good at it. I was not good because I used to tell stories. Storytelling is everything. I love storytelling. But in television news, you sort of tell a story like, here's a little intro, here's a little conflict, here's some possible resolutions, and then ideally you have some sort of resolution. It's like an arc like this. In radio, you have to tell stories, you have to hit it with your take off the top, and then you backfill with information, and then you come back, and then people chime in. It's a different rhythm. It's a different storytelling. Sometimes I still like to tell a long story the way I want to tell it, not the way that radio wants you to do it. But how fun to be around 50 years old, having a great career, and have the ability to say, let's try something else.
Yeah, that's so
amazing.
It's so interesting. So when you step down from being on the news to do the radio thing, you also really made a big effort on the digital stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So in television, you don't want your local news anchor getting paid by Medtronic or Best Buy or Target or whatever, because if something comes up in the news, you don't want to wonder, like, is he like sort of soft shoeing it because he's getting a check? So in radio, there are really no ethics. It doesn't matter. But you're more like a host. You're an entertainer. You do endorsements on the radio. I do endorsements just like podcasters are like, hey, try
our water.
Try our water. Yeah. I mean, the Fiji sponsorship would be nice. For
Yeah.
you, I think.
We're
Like,
working
that would
on
be
it.
great. But in radio, you have the opportunity to explore this space. And back to talking about storytelling, like helping people tell their stories. And so the digital side of things still lets me scratch the itch of doing video, of telling stories, of being out in the field, not just in a radio studio. So it's been really cool. That was partially a motivator for me.
Really?
Being able to explore the digital side more aggressively.
When you were on the news, were you unable to explore that digital stuff? Like, are there restrictions around
Never
that?
got paid for anything I did when I was on TV. So the paycheck came from TV. They allowed me to write for Minnesota Monthly. I'm a food critic. I've been writing there for 15 years. But that was all you were allowed to do. So if I emceed an event, I did it for free. if I did a video or shared information about a restaurant or a business, it's just because I wanted to. There was never any money that changed hands
Yeah.
or stuff or anything.
So now you have the ability to kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm
The radio station doesn't tell you
no,
can't do that.
no, they love it because they know that I'm building more conversation around what they're doing. So it's been phenomenal. And disclosure is still important. I still have that journalist in me. And so telling people like, hey, this is a client, this is a partner.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the people decide if they think you're just doing schlock for money or if you're just getting compensated for stuff that you do believe in, which I hope my people feel that that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Well, you have a
'cause that
pretty
is what I do.
Yeah, you have a pretty strong loyal following. You started doing food stuff on Instagram,
Yeah.
Jason Eats.
Yeah.
You got to tell me about that.
It's been so fun. Like I've written about food for a long time, but the digital space, I was a little hesitant. You're like, oh, the young TikTokers, like I'm old. I thought I'm like,
You're not that old.
not that old, but you're like, does TikTok need a 50-year-old guy in there talking about restaurants? Like when you've got all these frankly, some of these people, you're like, are you eating anything? You're way too cute to be a food influencer. I don't understand what's going on here. But, I think the first time I did something was during the state fair and people really loved it. And it's been phenomenal. There are a lot of people who either grew up watching me on TV, didn't know what happened to me because I'm on AM radio. Maybe that's not part of their even option of what they're going to listen to. So it's been fun to kind of get back into people's lives that way. And one of my guiding principles is motivating people to get out there, to take action, to get involved. I think the best way we can make our communities stronger is by being a participant. Too many people want to sit back and bitch about the world. And even the action of going to a local park or going to a local restaurant or a local boutique is, for me, significant. I think those things add up and matter. And if I can motivate people like, you know what, like we should do that or we could do that, I think that's pretty cool. So that's what I've been trying to use my social media as a force for good in that regard.
Yeah, inspiring people, right?
Yeah. And talking about things that, like, as a guy, there are things that guys don't talk about. Like, they don't talk very much about their health, about wellness, other than like gains with a Z at the
Gains.
gym. Like, that's about it.
Taking their protein.
So much protein. But if I can sort of make things that make people a little uncomfortable, a little more comfortable, I think that's pretty cool too. So I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, how do I use my voice as a force for good?
Yeah. I think more people need to think like that. I think it would make the world so much better.
Well, you're doing that, right? Like, why else are you doing that?
This is exactly why I'm doing
Yeah,
it.
right.
It was funny when you said your first 3 months in radio were tough,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm toughing through that right now because learning to be engaging, but also like asking quality questions is actually really hard. And this has taught me the value of good journalism in our world and basically good media in our world is hard to do.
Yeah.
Like the lessons.
It's hard. Asking a smart question, listening, asking the right follow-up question. It's hard. And it's also not as hard as people want to make it to be.
Yeah.
If you're a curious person, and I've tried to teach my kids this. I have 2 teenagers. Well, one teenager is 20 now. I guess not a teenager anymore. But the power of curiosity in life, like that is what being curious has gotten me to every next step along my journey. And I do worry that the fact that you can go so deep on one subject, like you're passionate about aviation.
Yeah.
You probably know way more about planes and flying than somebody 20 years would be able to know because you just have access to so much information.
Yeah.
But when you go deep in one area only, I mean, we all have limited time. So, like, if you used to be this wide, if you're going deeper, you're getting more narrow.
Yeah.
And so I just try to teach my kids to be curious. And I don't know. Sometimes they're curious about the wrong things.
Yeah. Are you
18 and 20-year-old boy, you can imagine what those boys are curious about.
Have you always been curious?
Yeah. I was a voracious reader when I was a kid. I read the encyclopedia. Remember encyclopedias?
Oh,
We had the
yeah.
World Book,
Yeah.
and I read it.
I had all those red books, the Britannica, and it was
the
all
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. I was a pretty cool kid.
You're like a walking Wikipedia.
Oh, right. But I just was always curious. And I watched the news from a young age. I watched the news and game shows. I do think, like, if you're to figure out, like, how did Jason DeRusha become the way he is, it's from watching Bob Barker on The Price is Right,
So good.
David Letterman, which was formative in, like, this ability to be goofy and unpredictable and interesting.
But smart.
Smart. And Peter Jennings.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've always wanted to be some combination of that. A little bit game show host, a little bit erudite sort of journalist, and a little bit irreverent sort of speaking your mind. So now I get to use all of that.
Do you ever worry that the younger generation's spending so much time scrolling, it's killing their curiosity? There's no headspace for boredom to think. We fill all of our empty space with doom scrolling now.
Yeah. The lack of boredom is a major problem.
Yeah.
It's a major problem. And I don't know, like, there are many benefits too that come from the fact that people are have so much more information and
Yeah.
are so there are a lot of benefits. I don't know. I think every generation we always worry a lot about the next generation is going to screw this up.
These kids don't know what they're walking into.
It always sort of works itself out. I don't know.
Or do they just build the world around them to work
maybe.
that way?
You just shift it. I do think you're seeing generationally, like, this next generation of parents are much more thoughtful about, like, how much time their kids spend on devices.
For sure.
Which I think is amazing. So I do think a lot of this stuff does. It's funny. We are open to new knowledge in certain areas. I do think, like, the pushback against devices and cell phones in schools has been a great example of people, when they are given information, that they can take action on it and they can change.
Oh, I mean, it's amazing to hear all these studies that come out showing that, your kids being on devices as much as they are is really horrible for them.
Yeah.
And then prying them away from those screens is like, my goodness. I have this thing on my phone. I can turn the internet off on device by device. And it's funny because I'll turn off my son's internet on his phone, and then I go back in the app a few minutes later, and now the Apple TV's running, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn that one off. And then next, he's upstairs in the loft watching TV, and I'm like, okay, I'm shutting off all the devices now. But it's funny because the level of curiosity, I feel like, is somewhat linked to being bored.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah. Your mind needs space. Your mind needs space. And most of the successful, like, CEOs and executives that I know block out time on their calendar just for thinking.
That's what I do.
Yeah. I think it's critical.
Right? I have 2 hours a day where I shut my door and I'm like, I am unavailable.
Yeah. Sort of the visionary challenge, right? Your mind is always running, but if you get involved too much in detail, then you're not thinking of the next thing. You're not seeing the horizon. But if you're not involved enough in detail, then things start falling apart.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
How do you reflect? Like, what do you do?
So every morning I start reading. So I start at 7:30, trying to think about, my show is on the air from 3 to 6, but I start working. Well, your life is show prep. So you're always thinking about, what I could talk about that. That could be a segment. But it is a challenge even for me to give myself space to think. So that is, what I'm doing. Two things I'm doing this year. One is I'm trying to read more like physical books, not on a device, like an actual paper, old school book, fiction, nonfiction, all of it. I miss that. And so I'm going back to it. The other thing is I like to bike. I like riding my bike. And that is sort of the only time that belongs to me. I'm not going to read an email. I'm not going to be on social
You're
media.
present.
I'm
You're
not going to
fully
take a call.
present.
Yeah. And there's something about nature, right?
Do you road bike or mountain bike?
Road bike.
Yeah.
But like you're going through you know, preserve and hearing the birds and even hearing the wind go by. Like I'm not a headphones in, you're trying to experience it. And I find that very helpful.
Yeah, you're being fully present.
Tons of research on that just the time in nature, how huge that is for restorative life. And you look at some of the mental health challenges and anxiety that people have, and of course they do.
Well, and,
Wouldn't you if you were like just living in this sort of bubble?
I mean, that's the world we've created. It's somewhat terrible.
Yeah, it's also really great, right? Like if you are someone who would be isolated in a small town, you're no longer isolated. It's weird. It's weird though. We have like, you know, I always think about this conundrum when it comes to fitness. We have more gyms in America than we've ever had before. We have more organized sports than ever before. And yet we're as fat and out of shape as we've ever been. So you're like, there is a society where the rich get richer, the healthier get healthier, the fit get fitter. Yeah, I don't think we've quite figured out like how do we democratize some of this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, like how do we
I don't have
help
the answer.
more people when we built this headquarters, we actually built a fitness center here because we wanted to encourage people to take that time for the headspace and physical space, right? We put in red lights for red light therapy if people want to
Cool.
use it.
Yeah,
I'm just like, how can we help our team feel healthy?
right.
You know?
Yeah, it's so important, and it's one of the good things I think we've seen over the last couple of years is a renewed focus on that
Yeah.
because we feel it, right? I mean, as I'm getting older, you feel like your body is sort of doing its thing in a bad way, but you also have more opportunity to try to. I mean, people who are 50 today.
Yeah.
2 decades ago, you'd be like, you would not look as good as not most, but many people in their 50s look.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's
think
kind of cool.
it's amazing.
You're 72 years old. You look
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, born in 1956. You know, it's interesting since you left TV. Every time I see you, you look younger and younger. It must be the biking and maybe some sleep.
A little sleep. For many years, I was waking up at 2:30 in the morning. So that's not great. It's
Yeah.
not great. So more sleep is good. Eating better is part of it. It is. I think people poo-poo these inflection points, right? Like New Year's. Who cares about New Year's? Any day could be your new beginning, which is true. And those sort of arbitrary markers, for me anyway, have been inflection points.
Real value.
So you're looking at 50, you're like, all right, like, do I want to be 45 pounds overweight when
Yeah.
I'm 50?
Dude,
No.
you look incredible. You've got to have lost a bunch of weight.
Lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But like that marker was useful to me.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have some of those artificial points, whether it's, you know, you're turning 30, 35, for those zeros and fives, I think can be good points and good motivators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What motivates you to want to be healthier?
My kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both of my kids have been so lucky that their grandparents on both sides, all four, are still alive.
Oh, wow.
And it's so cool, man. Like I didn't have that.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So I want to be there when my kids have kids.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
doing it for your family.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you do it for yourself, but you do it for your family.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you know, having kids is a life changer for sure. But like my wife and I have always prioritized our relationship first,
Yeah.
which I don't know that that's very popular now.
but
People
not the
put their
kids
kids
first.
first.
Yeah.
No, we always put ourselves first, not in a selfish way, but like we knew that the point that we're at now was going to come, where the
Yeah.
kids are off at college and it's just us. So you want to have a relationship to still have when those kids are gone. And it does make you think about the future in a different way when you see somebody growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually gives you a perspective on time. Like my
Oh.
daughter, she's going to have her driver's license in June. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, it gives you perspective on your own mortality,
True.
right?
It's true. I can't believe that, like, my oldest, who people in Minnesota saw my kids in the hospital when they were born. So there
Wow.
was that TV moment, like, we'd like to welcome a new member to the WCCO family. Okay, it's Seth DeRusha, like here. So both of my kids, there were TV news cameras in the hospital, not during the delivery, but shortly after. And today, one kid is 1 year away from graduating college.
Wow.
Another is a freshman, but you're like, whoa.
Where'd the time go?
I know. It is the most annoying cliche where people say to parents, like, well, the days are long, but the years are short. And it's true. Like, a lot of cliches, man,
Yeah.
are very accurate.
Yeah, I wish
but
I would have
it's true.
taken it more seriously.
Yes. It's been amazing.
What's
Yeah.
What's been your key to having a great relationship and long-lasting relationship with your wife?
I'm tremendous at sex.
I had a feeling, but I wasn't gonna ask.
It's really one of the best. No.
That's a first for us here.
Yeah, right. Thank you. I think that's a first for me, saying that too. And utterly unbelievable. So it's laughter. Like, it's always been laughter. It's, very early. She told me, this was maybe our third or fourth date, and we were in college. We met in college, but I said something to her, and she told me that I was being mean. And I've always been a sarcastic person, and she told me I was being mean, and she was right. She was right. And her ability to, with love, point out when I'm failing, coupled with my openness that, like, I'm a lot, my life is a lot, the fact that my family shares me with an audience, with a wider community, is a lot. But I'm also very open to the fact that, like, I'm sometimes wrong. And so that sort of set the table super early. Yeah. And it's amazing.
How long have you been married?
Now you're going to ask these questions. We've been together for 30 years, and we've been married, let's see, it's 2026. We got married in 98. So whatever that math is.
Yeah. That's amazing.
27 years,
Yeah.
and it'll be 28 this year. Pretty good.
Those are good tips. I mean, being open to being wrong and admitting it
Yeah.
and taking feedback.
It's hard.
I meet guys that, have never been married, and I'm like, no wonder you're such a jerk. You haven't had a woman in your life forming you into a decent human being.
Oh, no doubt.
Right?
She's made me a much nicer, kinder person. Yeah, I can't imagine. She also knew when to, like, push me. Like, I loved my first job that I had in Davenport, Iowa. And she was like, time to go.
Really?
Yep. She was like, we got to go. And she knew, like, I was liking it too much. I might still be there because it was a good job, good station. I'm like, this is great. She's like, time to go.
Oh,
She was right. It was time to go.
she was right.
I needed a new challenge, and it was time to go. She was, I think, skeptical about the jump that I made here going into radio, and now she knew it would be good for lifestyle, which it is good for lifestyle.
Yeah.
But she was skeptical that it would be good, and now she's all on board.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when COVID happened to our events business, I wallowed for a couple of weeks. You're furloughing staff and things are horrible. And there was a day where I was like grabbing my second scotch.
Yeah.
And she grabs it out of my hand. And she's like, "You're better than this. You can figure this out. Now put that down and think about what you can do." And she pushed me to think.
It's cool.
Like, she was like, "You're Charles Eide. You built this business. Stop sitting around whining about your problems." And I was like, it was such a hard message, but I was like, I needed someone to slap me across the face.
Yeah.
Because I felt so defeated.
Don't you think that in general, like, our politics would be better if people in leadership had people around them to give that same message that your wife gave you?
100%.
And it's part of it is, I think about this in friend groups. Like, I've always felt like there's an opening on the dance card for somebody new, because you need to keep old friends. Lifelong friends are, you can't replace that. But you also need to be careful about, like, only being surrounded with the same perspective, and people who are afraid to, like, say, meh.
Yeah, we sometimes, I think, at least from my perspective, the more success you have, the more it becomes kind of an echo chamber of the, "Oh, you're so great," and all this. And so I've been trying to get some mentors that are like way, way smarter than me, that are like, "You're not that great." And I'm like, it stings a little.
Yes.
But at the same time, you're like, but I need that because I'm not that great and I have so much work to do.
It was a great example I got from my mentor when I was in college, because I started interning so young. I saw other interns go on, and he told me early on, he said, "You're going to get your first job, and within a month, you're going to be the best person at that station." And he said, "That does not mean that you are good. You're not. Like, you're still figuring it out." And it has been very useful for me all the time throughout my life, where you think, like, no matter how good I'm getting, I'm not where I could be. I'm not where I want to be. And there are other people who are better than me, and certainly better than me at individual aspects. Maybe I can wrap a number of things collectively to be unique. But there are people who do every aspect of what I do much better than I do.
It's like Matthew McConaughey always said, he needs something to chase. Like, he always wants to become that better version of himself. It sounds like you think like that,
I think
too.
so. I'm never there. And I'll never be there, right? I'm always going to create some new goal to chase. And the chase is the fun part.
And you find joy in the chase, not the destination.
No. And I love the uncomfortable, the fact that it's, like what you're going through in this, trying to figure out, like, how do I get better at this? How do I don't know. I'm still, like, every day in my show, you have days that are good, days that are bad. Social media videos that I make where I'm like, I'll look back at and think, like, oh, wish I did something different, or that was dumb, or whatever. And then you also have the beauty on going on that chase on things that you think are good and the people don't respond to, and things that you think are bad and go bananas. Like, it's part of the fun. The randomness is also part of the fun. I don't know. I like all of it, but I like that. I like the challenge. I like knowing that there's still a goal out there. That was part of the hard part during COVID, wasn't it? Where you didn't have anything to look forward to.
It was horrible.
And now it's like, there's always something to look forward to.
Oh, I mean, I think, at least for us, COVID made us better, made us stronger, and made us smarter. It made us have more empathy. It was the most horrible gift I could have ever gotten that ended up being great.
Nobody wants it. No. If you could do it over again, you'd rather not have it.
No.
But that's not how life works.
But good came of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to ask you one last thing. You've had a beautiful career. You've built a beautiful family, a great legacy. If you and I both died tomorrow, what would you want to be remembered for?
Well, ultimately, I think, we all want to be remembered as a good friend, as a good father. That, to me, is the most important thing. I think I would like people to know that I tried my best to be respectful and thoughtful and bring joy into the community. That's what I would like to be remembered as. You know, I'm just I'm just a talk show host. I'm just what I'm doing every day is really like, it's not that significant. But I do think like modeling the fact that people with different opinions can have conversations and get along. 10 years ago, I didn't think that would be a necessary thing that would need to be modeled. And today I think it is.
Yeah.
The fact that we can come together and we're all really not that different. We all want sort of the same stuff. We just have different ways where we think we can get to the same destination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched you through your whole, through the career I've seen
Mhm.
from the public eye, and you've done all those things. It's amazing. You should be very proud of it.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful that I was able to spend time learning from you today. This was so fun and so enlightening, and like the behind the scenes of the media, but then like your personal quirky ideas about things is so powerful. So thank you for being here, truly.
Yeah. Thanks, Charles.
Hey, if you like this episode, make sure you subscribe, share it with somebody you like, and of course, make sure you check out my company, Eide. We produce conferences and events all over the US, and if you know of a conference or an event that's looking for the best company in the business, check out eidecom.com.